Hello, once again, welcome to our kitchen table. Today I'm sitting down with my wife, your therapist, to talk about my penis.
Body dysmorphia.
My enormous penis.
Body dysmorphia.
My very small penis.
Body dysmorphia.
My straight penis.
Body dysmorphia.
Curved penis.
Body dysmorphia.
What kind of penis am I working with? That's what the people want to know.
Dysmorphia.
We're sitting down today to talk about body dysmorphia, and I did some penis research. I looked up stats. I handled a bunch. Met a lot of great guys.
Today is not a child-friendly episode.
What's not child-friendly about penis research?
About your penis.
You think that when I was a little kid, I was like, oh man, I can't learn anything about the junk that I've got down there, you know?
With some parental involvement, maybe.
On second thought, it sounds like I'm advocating that kids listen to this, which I am not. But that's like across the board. I don't want kids listening to this podcast.
I don't know that it's ever a child-friendly podcast, to be honest.
But I do know we recently learned, and we know that we have a lot of folks who listen to this podcast who are therapists themselves. Mm-hmm. And we've been told a couple of times, including very recently, that this is a part of how they offer therapy. They recommend specific podcast episodes of ours to their clients. So welcome. If your therapist recommended this one to you, how you doing? Seems like you got some concerns about your penis.
Probably body dysmorphia.
But if you have a penis and your therapist brought you here today, just buckle in. We'll get through this together.
Oh, no.
Before we get started, I did want to make a quick announcement, if that's okay. For those of you watching on social media or on YouTube, we've got like 60 subscribers. Can you fucking believe that on YouTube?
No way.
60. Yeah, 60 something.
Wow.
I know. It's nuts. If you're watching on YouTube, you'll realize that I shaved my beard completely off.
Yeah, Price really identifiably has a big beard. It's in the little caricature cartoon of you on the podcast.
And that's no longer a good representation of what I look like.
Should we update the picture?
No. No. I'm growing this beard as fast as I can. What started as a trim this morning turned into a much larger fiasco. But that's not the announcement. The announcement is that I'm starting a separate true crime podcast.
Oh.
The title of which is The Case of the Missing Jawline.
Where did it go?
Because I shaved and I was like, holy fuck, where is my jaw? I look like a goddamn thumb.
This is your experience every time you shave your beard.
I shaved it and I was like, on the dysmorphia day. On the day that we talk about body dysmorphia, I look like a dick. Welcome. So let's jump in. What is body dysmorphia?
Who am I and who are you?
Oh, yeah.
Just do it now. It's good.
So, my name is Price. I don't have a beard. And I'm married with a beard. I married your therapist. You gotta entrap them. Yeah, entrap them. Then you can do what you want to your face. You know.
Yeah.
You get them under bearded circumstances, and then you shave.
We did not start dating under bearded circumstances.
Oh, that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah.
But we got married with a beard. So
we sure did.
That makes it sound like there was another person involved, and that person was called a beard. You know?
It was the beard.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Well, anyways, I'm Price, and I'm your therapist.
You're the therapist.
The beard is the only thing holding this together for me. I married your therapist. God damn it.
Ash, and I may or may not be your therapist. Please keep in mind that even though this is a podcast about mental health and therapy, it's not the same thing as Dear God or a replacement for therapy. Okay.
Woo! All right, so you're the fucking therapist, as we've been a little confusing about. Okay. Talk to me about what body dysmorphia is.
Yeah. So body dysmorphia is specifically like a diagnosable issue, but I think that in general it's something that a lot of people struggle with some variety of in some area of their life. Body dysmorphia is an obsession with a certain part or parts of your body, and based on the way that you perceived them. So maybe it's the way that they really are, maybe it's the way that you feel about them, but it's finding some inherent flaw in them and obsessing over hiding or concealing or fixing it.
That's a little different than what I thought body dysmorphia was.
Really?
Which is I look in the mirror and what I am looking at is not an accurate reflection of what is actually there.
Yes. And that's where I think we all get into body dysmorphia. So as always with diagnosable issues, that's about insurance, and it's being called out as like, here's your very severe, requires a specific therapy treatment style. So that's why they're always like that. They're always, very distinguished.
Very serious.
But in general, we all look in the mirror and are impacted by the way that we feel about ourselves. And we're impacted by the media that we consume, or that, I was going to say consumes us, the media that is like constantly thrown in our face. And the way that, our parents have taught us to feel about our bodies, and the stories that we hear from our friends, and the things that we don't talk about our bodies. And so I think in that regard, dysmorphia impacts a lot of people. A lot of us look in the mirror and see flaws that may or may not be there.
I think that we're all well aware of the fact that the models on the covers of our magazines are airbrushed and the lighting's perfect and they've only eaten like a cube of cheese in the last week.
Right.
I think that everybody kind of understands that, but when we get down to it, we are impacted or consumed by our media in every angle, and it has a serious effect on the way that we view our bodies. Yeah. And it's not just a female thing. It's not just a male thing. It's for everybody in between thing.
Right.
It's
everybody's impacted by it.
Everybody's impacted by it. We all have an idea of what our body is supposed to look like, and it is always very different than what our body actually looks like.
Yeah.
This is something I've struggled with immensely over the years. I still struggle with it. I'm excited to talk about it because I think that, again, we all can wrap our heads around the fact that, like, objectively, we know that this phenomenon is happening, but you have been really helpful to me over the years, and like, how do you actually go about dealing with this?
Yeah.
And I think your recommendations are really interesting and more nuanced than just like general love yourself, love your body. Because when somebody tells me to love my body, I'm like, fucking, I don't love my body. Like, no. I don't know what to tell you. No. I'm not happy in here. Just love your body. It's like, you could just tell me to like love ketchup and pickles, but I don't love ketchup and pickles. And
right. And how do you move from hating something and actively wanting to like punish or get rid of it to loving something? That's such a huge like cognitive leap to try to make, and a functional leap to try to make. That's not really a fair request of anybody.
So let's move on to what the people want to hear about.
Your penis?
My penis.
Okay. Tell us about your penis, Bryce.
His name is Bill.
I didn't know.
He's always been there for me. He gets the job done. I mean, well, let me ask you that.
Oh my God.
How's Bill doing?
Bill's fine. Bill and I go way back.
You and Bill have known each other for many years.
A good long while now.
Okay. Oh, Jesus Christ. No, it's not like that. It's not like that. It's more objectively, I wanted to talk about men's relationships with their own penis, and I'm inspired by a paper that you wrote in college.
Yes.
I was hoping that you could kind of break down what that paper talked about a little bit,
yeah,
and the research that you did in college as part of your psychology degree.
Do you remember how that paper got kicked off? What happened?
Was it Bill? Bill.
I like that. No, you did influence that paper, not Bill specifically. So I was taking a sex and sexuality class, and it was amazing. It was the first time that I encountered.
Thank you. Oh, it was a college class.
It
wasn't
class,
like your relationship with me. I understand. Okay, I'm sorry.
That's it.
I'm sorry.
It was amazing. I grew up in a really, conservative Christian home and environment. We weren't really talking about sex like that at all. And then I was at a really conservative college. And so even the people around me mostly weren't, the small group that I was around, mostly like they weren't having sex, and if they were, they certainly weren't talking about it to each other. When I was having sex, I wasn't talking about it with my peers. Like there wasn't any of those discussions going on. And getting to have this class with a professor who was super accepting, and just getting to talk openly about it was like a game changer. But we had this big paper at the end that was a pretty long, intensive research paper that I think we did over the majority of the class. And I had asked you what you thought I should write on, and I'm pretty sure you're the one who suggested penis size, maybe even as a joke. But I was like, let's do it. That sounds great. So I wrote this research paper, and my professor loved it. As a people pleaser, that feels important to mention. And I learned a lot from it. So one of the main things I remember from the paper, one of the kind of where I'm drawing some of my big conclusions from, was this one specific study where there were men who were signed up to have surgery to make their penises bigger.
Yeah, this is a real thing.
This is a real thing. So there are a lot of non-scientifically proven ways to supposedly make your penis bigger. I'm sure if you check your spam inbox, you will have them there. But there are other things that people do. And this is the one surefire way to actually increase the size of your penis. And it's like a big deal surgery. It's a big deal to have somebody go into your genitals and do something to them and change them and all these complications that can arise. But people were so insecure about the way that their body was, they would rather opt to have this surgery than to do something else. So the study was to take people who were signed up for this surgery and to just bring them into the office to measure the size of their penis and to tell them the average penis size. And I'm pretty sure the result was, what I recall is that 100% of the men changed their minds. That's almost impossible in a study, but I'm pretty sure it was 100% of the men ended up opting out of the surgery because they didn't realize that they were perfectly average.
If you're wondering why she said what I recall from the study, like, Ash, wouldn't you know the details of your own paper and the conclusions you drew from some of this research? Well, then you should have been here helping us search for a USB hard drive for like 2 hours today. We scoured the house because we know that this fucking paper is on a fucking USB stick somewhere in this house, and we just could not find it. I'm sorry we let you down. I'm so sorry. But I remember that as well. I remember that, like, everybody was like, oh, I don't need penis elongation surgery or something.
Everybody changed their mind.
Yeah.
And what a, like, big deal to have been signed up for this expensive surgery. I was reading still today, it's basically never covered by insurance, which is rare for penis-related things. A lot of, specifically, like, male, quote-unquote, healthcare is covered. Not covered by insurance. They were opting to have this like painful, difficult, elective surgery, and they all changed their minds. And I was like, what a stunning penis. Bit of research about how influenced we are by the things around us, and we don't actually realize what is true and normal for our bodies. In other parts of this paper, we're researching especially the ways that we're influenced by things like porn. There was even a very famous bit of research done by somebody named Kinsey, last name Kinsey, and they kind of set the standard for a lot of things moving forward. And there was a self-report on penis size. And so for the longest time, even the research we had about average penis size was that it was bigger.
I did the research on this.
Yeah.
In 1948, a sexologist, a pioneering sexologist named Alfred Kinsey declared the average penis size. Imagine that. Like, he marches out onto the balcony of the town square. I declare the average penis size to be 6.21 inches long. This was based on a study of 3,500 men. Guess what color their skin was? Because it was the 40s.
White.
Bunch of white guys, which, right there, you skewed the metrics.
Maybe.
No, I'm just kidding. That's a stereotype. The thought that Asian dudes have smaller dicks and black dudes have bigger dicks is just stereotypical or just stereotyping. There's no evidence to suggest that your race has anything to do with the size of your penis. Although we do know that black guys have bigger dicks. What's up, guys? But there's no evidence to support that, but I still choose to blindly believe it.
Okay, as long as you're opting into believing blindly the stereotype.
Yeah, there's no evidence to believe the absolute fact that black dudes have bigger dicks.
Okay.
Anyways, a bunch of college-aged men measured themselves and wrote in, and the average size was 6.21 inches. Well, I'm telling you right here, right now,
that when you wrote into the Kinsey study,
I was generous. I was very generous. I may have used centimeters instead of inches and called them inches. I was very generous to Mr. Kinsey about the size of my penis. I thought that he might be like selecting, men for a breeding program or something, who knows, right? But back in the 40s, I signed up for the study and I was very generous.
You were very generous, and we might imagine that other folks were generous as well. But we actually know, I think now the average size is supposed to be somewhere around like just over 5 inches.
Just over, yeah.
But what's actually the most common range of sizes is 3.5 to 5 inches. And there's only like 1% of the population that has a dick that's like 6 or 7 inches long.
Yeah, I actually have that.
It's like 3 or 4%.
3% of men have a penis larger, that's 7 inches or larger. It's 3% of men.
Okay, that disagrees with the thing that I read. That was like 3% for 6 and 1% for 7 or something.
Yeah, I did a little.
Were you generous?
I was just a little generous. These poor men out here. Here's the problem, and this is where the dysmorphia conversation comes in.
Yeah.
The average penis size in porn is 8 inches or larger.
Yeah. So not something that almost ever exists just out in
a fraction
in the
of a
world.
percent of men have a penis that is larger than 8 inches or larger. And guess what these guys are doing? Porn. They're going into porn because they have been endowed with this incredible genetic rarity. It is like seeing an 8-foot tall dude. Right, whoa, what the fuck, Yeah. But we are comparing ourselves as guys. We're holding ourselves to the standard that is set in porn by like genetic freaks.
If you're 8 foot tall, you're in WWE, and if you have an
WWE, you mean the NBA?
Or the NBA. You can tell which one I see more of. Not totally true. Anyway, or you have an 8-inch penis and you're in porn. That's, again, not totally true. But, yeah, these are like genetic rarities and things that most people won't ever encounter in life. But when you get most of your sex education from porn, which is true for so many folks growing up, and especially from a young age, you're going to be really influenced by that. You're seeing somebody who, is not showing an average size. And that gets into other things we are going to talk about, which is how many women are concerned about like the way that their vulvas look, and how all of that is influenced by porn as well, which tends to be like video edited as well as surgically edited.
Let's talk about the ladies for a second. Let's not talk about their genitals. We're just going to talk about the ladies, okay?
Okay.
Ladies, you're telling us men, 85% of you are satisfied with your partner's penis size. I think that a lot of you are like, yeah, it's fine. Never given it much thought. It's working. I really want to talk to the 15% of you that are like, it's not the right size for me. Is it too big? Is it too small? Why are you saying that? I'm so interested in that 15%. But that's like the phenomenon of reading comments online, and like everybody's nice except for that one comment that's mean. You're like, oh fuck, the only one I can think about.
Very focused on that.
85% of you said that you were fine with your penis. Only 55% of male respondents to this particular study were happy with their own penis size. 45% of men believe that they have a small penis. Imagine that. Almost half of us believe that we're small. But that makes total sense to me because we're looking at 8-inch penis as if that's the norm.
Yeah.
And then of course you're small, my brother, because you're probably rocking 5. You're probably packing 5 inches of heat. And of course that's small compared to an 8-inch. But here's the other thing: is that what do you even do with an 8-inch penis? Where's that supposed to go? The
Where is
average
that supposed to
vaginal
go?
canal is about 4 or 5 inches.
No, it's like 3 or 4.
That's right. It's like 3 or 4 inches deep. You got a lot of room that's just left out in the sunshine, brother. Like, what are you even going to do with, people sit around like, man, I wish my penis was bigger. For what? For who? Like, what is it working for you?
Right.
Because it's about how you use it. That meat thermometer you've got. How are you taking temperatures? That's the question. God, I can't believe I said that. I knew I was going to say it, and I can't believe that I said it. The bottom line is that the women are not as concerned with your penis size as you think that you are. In fact, the people most concerned with penis size are the dudes.
Yeah. Well, what you said kind of hits home for me, the like 85% of women who are like, it's fine, I guess I've never really thought about it. In conversations that I have about sex, I'm having like detailed conversations with folks about sex that a lot of people don't have access to, because sex is one of the things that we can talk about in therapy. I don't think I've never had a single person mention penis size.
Really?
No, no partners to people with penises have mentioned penis size as part of whether that was satisfactory or not. It's always a conversation about like the intimacy involved and, every other factor, I think, before that.
Yeah. And it's, having been in a relationship with the same person for many years, it's more about getting to know how that person works,
right?
What their body wants. You can't just walk up to the relationship, plop your 12-foot long penis onto the table and be like, "You're welcome. Here I am." It's not that easy. Like it's still the same work. It's still the same trying to learn your partner's body, because not everybody is going to want the same things, and very few people actually want a dick as large as what you think you should have in order to be accepted.
Yeah.
But we've turned it into this whole like allegory for like masculinity and for just belonging to have this like enormous penis.
I was going to say, I think that's true of so many things about masculinity, is that it's all got to be like big and aggressive and strong and all of these things that like when we talk about safety, feeling safe in a relationship, very few of us are talking about having somebody who could like physically ward off other humans. We're mostly talking about psychological safety, about feeling emotionally like seen and cared for. And all of those things are kind of just a distraction from what we actually need in relationships.
If we could sidebar on the masculinity conversation for a second, when we talk about this, I think of my grandfather. Not when we talk about penises, but when we talk about masculinity, I think of my grandfather. I called him Papa. Papa was a very strong, physically strong man.
Papa comes up a lot in the podcast.
Yeah, he does. He comes up a lot in my life because I really looked up to him. He was exceptionally strong. He worked with his hands most of his life, and he
could like chop firewood well into his later years and stuff. Like very strong.
Very active guy, and he exuded this like gentleness about him.
Yeah.
He was a very calm. Most of the time, he was very calming to be around, and that's my association with masculinity, is like the strength to be protective, but the demeanor to be inviting, and to like this man wanted to show you love more than he wanted to be aggressive.
Yeah.
But you knew he could back that up if he needed to, and I think that that's like the perfect definition of masculinity. Is are you able to provide like a safe environment and a loving and welcoming environment on a physical level, but then on an emotional level as well. And so when I think about penises, I think about that.
That's nice.
Is it safe and welcoming? But no, we say that you're less of a man if you have a smaller penis, but that's just men talking to one another, and it's a lie. And we're all feeling a little insecure about our penis size, and we're all given this like ideal image of what a penis should be, and it's not like fair to anybody.
Well, I think about like, here's how dysmorphia plays out in real life. Think about talking with your doctor about how much you exercise or how much you drink or how much you smoke or whatever. So many people exaggerate things to sound like they feel like they ought to sound. In counseling school, we're taught a lot about how people will exaggerate to us. Now, as a counselor, that's personally something that I've like dismissed as part of what I care about. Like we've talked about a lot now, the story that you're telling me is the important one. And if you're overemphasizing how much you exercise or downplaying how, little house cleaning you're able to do or whatever, like that's okay. That's where we're at right now. And I can just greet you in this moment.
Yeah.
But if you think about every situation in life where you come up and you kind of exaggerate what you've got going on, that like you get into work on Monday and you're like, yeah, I had a busy, fun weekend, but you sat on the couch all weekend. That's fine. That's allowed. But you don't know how many people are doing these other things because we're all talking about it like we're doing something else.
Right.
We're all talking about exercise like we're doing it more of it than we are. We're all talking about, our lifestyle or whatever in ways that are sometimes exaggerated.
Yeah.
And now think about something that nobody else or very few people, in terms of like the people that you're interacting with, something that nobody else is viewing about you, something you're not seeing about other folks with a similar body to you. That was something else that I read today as we were kind of prepping for this, is that people with penises who have sex with people who also have a penis have a way better image of like what is actually an average penis size, because they're interacting on both sides of that equation.
Right.
And they get to have this better perception of that.
Yeah, gay men specifically have like a much more realistic expectation of like
Yes.
penis size.
Yeah. And I think that people with vaginas who have sex with people with vaginas also have a similar sort of interaction. Like I think about the way that like the lesbians in my life talk about sex and understand their bodies just to a degree that straight women in my life do not. In college, it was a huge thing for me to be like educating other women on the ways that their bodies worked and the parts that, so many people didn't even know like what was down there in the first place, in general, much less on their own bodies.
Yeah.
And it's sad for us to not have that comparison. But back to the other thing, if you think about this thing that can feel so private and so vulnerable and have to be such an indication of like who you are as a man, that's tough. Who can be honest about that?
So if you're dealing with dysmorphia around your penis size, most of our listeners are female. Mm-hmm. But ladies, listen, if your partner or somebody is dealing with it, and if they have a penis and they are online in any capacity today, they probably are, remember that the average size and what we think the average, like what we would describe as the average size and the actual average size for a penis are two very different things. Mm-hmm. And then also to, if anybody's listening and you've got a schlong, you're packing heat, you've got a massive ding dong, take pride in the things that you've accomplished in your life, not the things you were born with. Uh-huh. I really don't, I'm so sick and tired of like us pretending like you're a better man because you have a bigger penis, when you had no say in that whatsoever. And I'm really sick of people acting like they are not as good of a man as they should be because they weren't born with the penis size that they think that they should have. Mm-hmm. Your masculinity is not defined by like the traits you were born with. It's about the decisions that you are made, the decisions that you make. It's your character, the quality of you as a person is about what you do with the things that you've been given, not just what was handed out to you when you were born. Because you didn't have any say. Yeah. It's not like the kinder I am, the bigger my penis gets.
Is that not how that works?
I wish. I'm going to quit being nice to people. Yeah, and I think that I wanted to talk about like penis size specifically because I don't hear a lot of, I think we know, I don't think podcast host, I think everything that we've said is pretty much known, but I don't hear it reinforced a lot. Mm-hmm. So I want to be like somebody in this space reminding people of this kindly. But I also think it's a really good example. It's a really striking example of dysmorphia because so many guys obsess over this and so many guys wish that they could have a larger penis to the point that they elect invasive surgery to accomplish that. And it's like saying, Price, you need to be taller because the only people that we see on TV are NBA-sized players. We need guys, we're used to guys who are tall, and if you're under 7 feet tall, you're just not a man. So you need to go get a surgery to make yourself taller. Now, that would be a funny joke, but then I've recently learned that there are surgeries available that people are taking to make themselves taller. It's something about manipulating your joint, the space in between your joints.
And I think leg bones.
And leg bones, okay. Yeah, so we are constantly electing to have like incredibly complex and invasive surgeries to change our bodies to make it fit some sort of arbitrary standard that has, because we believe that it's important to our value as a human.
Yeah.
And I don't know where you draw the line between like accepting a trans person going through the treatments that they need to go through to live in the body that they identify as, and then also saying, hey guys, let's talk about what the average size of penises really are before you get a surgery to increase your penis size so that you can make sure you're making the right decision. But I don't want anybody going under the scalpel when there's maybe more information available out there that would help them feel more comfortable in their own skin.
Yeah. To kind of segue into the trans stuff, so we're talking about two separate things. If we're talking about dysmorphia, that's the like obsession with something that's a perceived flaw. And then gender dysphoria is that feeling that like your body doesn't align with your gender. So these are separate things. You can have both, which is super fun. But dysphoria is a separate thing.
Okay.
Dysmorphia is where we're concerned about what sorts of changes are you making to your physical body to accommodate what may or may not be there. Gender is about the way that we perceive ourselves and interact with other people, and it means so many different things and plays into so many aspects.
And I'm certainly not trying to trivialize like trans people. I'm just talking objectively getting a surgery to change your appearance.
Yeah.
You know.
So here's something really, really interesting that I got to kind of witness unfold. So again, we're not trans. We're not speaking from a trans experience, but the Facebook group that I always recommend, you might want to learn more about trans people, run by Lady Evie Winters. She talked about this and about that like compulsion to change your physical appearance and worry about when some people do it and then supporting it when trans people doing it. Like, what's the difference? What's going on?
Oh, interesting. Because that's exactly what I'm asking.
Exactly.
Like, where do you draw the line?
Yeah, okay. She talked specifically about that, and it was so interesting. First of all, there are so many things we do to affirm our gender. The fact that I wear like mascara every day affirms my gender. I feel something akin to dysphoria when I like work out my chest and I feel like it changes the shape of my chest. It doesn't, I look at my chest and I'm like, that's not mine. That doesn't look like me. It is, literally is, but like, we can all be impacted.
I recognize
by this.
That chest anywhere. You could get a lineup of like 10 chests, and I'd be like, those are that chest is my wife's chest.
Are you saying you want a lineup of 10 cents of boob sprays? Okay.
That's 20 boobs.
So many boobs.
I'm sorry. Please.
Okay. But she was talking about this. And what she was noticing and kind of asking if other people had a common experience with is that she had this really specific idea of what she wanted her body to look like before she had surgery. And she talks openly about her surgeries, about her gender affirming surgeries. And she was talking about having this very specific image. And first of all, needing to be in partnership with her doctor and with like the various care members of her team to make sure that like she was doing something that was healthy and okay for her. Mm-hmm. But as she started to really look into, okay, where did I get this? She realized the body she had in mind looked like her family's bodies. It looked like the bodies of her like mom and her sisters. And I think her grandmother maybe specifically. And like, that's where she got this image from. And now,
I'm sorry, I want to look just like my grandma today. Not in that photo of her from the 40s.
That's not what I mean.
Kidding. I'm sorry. I think that's fucking funny.
Anyway, she voiced this like looking for your family's image in the way that you're doing this. She has a lot of trauma in her family as well. And I want to just apologize if I've mention something that's difficult for her. But anyway, she's talking about this, and so many trans people chimed in, and they're like, that's it. That's where I'm like getting this idea from, is that I do want to look like these. I do want to look like the people that I see myself with. And you know that I had the experience where my mom had had a surgery, and after that, her body changed dramatically, and I saw myself for the first time. I was around my mom and I'm like, oh my gosh, we're related. And there was something about like seeing myself in her that was so like lovely and almost healing for me in a way that I didn't know that I needed. And it was coming at a place where I was really thinking about my body and like trying to work on.
I felt the same way when my dad got his dick elongation surgery. I was
yeah,
like, oh,
you were
wow.
like, oh wow, we're related now.
I'm kidding. That's really powerful. That's really cool.
Yeah, it's a really great post that you can find in that community. But she was just sharing about that. And while I don't think it's necessarily the same for everybody across the board, and you're allowed to be influenced by other things in your life, there were so many people who chimed in and they were like, yes, that's my experience. I want to like look like my sisters. I want to look like my mom or whatever.
That's really cool. Mm-hmm. Well, like the conversation around penis size, you can copy and paste the details of that to basically any body part on any gender or anything in between to talk about this more dysmorphia. Now I'm fucking confused. Dysmorphia, like Morpheus, like the Matrix, like dysmorphia.
Yes, yeah.
Okay. Morpheus from the Matrix offered pills, a blue pill and a red pill. And I think that if you're like super masculine and like kind of conservative or something, you're red pilled. And if you're like more like a liberal cuck like me, you're blue pilled. Here's the problem. I can never get it straight. I can never remember which pill is which.
Yeah.
So I've just abstained from that dialogue because I'm always confused. I'm always concerned that I'll like represent myself
in the wrong way.
Right. So that's my Morpheus. That's what I was ADHDing into my brain.
That's
there.
Nice.
I'm so sorry.
I was like, where is this going?
It's not going anywhere. It's a cul-de-sac of my own thoughts. Welcome to my own personal hell. You feel like you're going somewhere, but it turns out, nope. You're just in a circle back out the way you came. What I'm trying to say is that as interesting as penises are, and we can be talking about any body part on any one when we're talking about this sort of like obsession, this dysmorphia, like this, I need this to look differently. This is wrong. There's a part on me that is wrong, that is not doing what I needed to do, that I'm deeply ashamed about, that I don't want to talk about. You even see guys who are losing their hair that feel this way about the fact that they're losing their hair.
Yep.
Somebody needs to tell them, like, my brother in Christ, you are developing too much testosterone. That is where your hair is going. You're too much of a man. Your hair is like, oh man, I gotta get the fuck out of here. Yeah. You know, but there is just so many things that men and women have to endure because we're pitched this model. Everybody put on your tinfoil hats. Let's get a little conspiracy theorist here. We're pitched this model of what the ideal man and what the ideal woman should look like. And as I have learned more about bodybuilding as an interest of mine over the years, what these people do to themselves in order to achieve that like vascular ripped up look that we're all trying to achieve or we all wish we had. They're dehydrating themselves for days. They're starving themselves. They're working out like insane lengths. Every meal is like to a gram, like measured out for them. It's not realistic.
Yeah,
it's not fair.
Very disordered, like having that sort of body image and also like eating like that.
Yeah.
And all this, very scary.
Yeah, most of you, if you were doing that, would take you to a doctor who would hospitalize you for your physical and mental health because you're just off the rails. You're struggling right now. But that's what we're pitched as: happiness. Yeah. Contentment, fulfillment. You want to look like this. This is what you're getting to. And so many people have jumped on that fucking bandwagon. You got gyms and nutritionists and health coaches and all these fucking people that are telling you that the way that you look should make you miserable. And the only way that you can get happy is by spending your money to do these things. Yeah. And it's a full fucking conspiracy from top to bottom. Because it's so easy to get at the heart of like what so many of us are concerned about, that I don't like the way that I look. But there weren't mirrors for a long period of time in human history. We're looking in like rivers and stuff to see what we look like. We're not
Very
supposed to be
distorted.
this obsessed with like what we look like. And that's something I've had to remind myself of over the years, is that like I'm not supposed to be this worried about it.
Something that was a good kind of reframe for me is we observe the people around us like in motion. And what's so beautiful about the people around us a lot of the times isn't just like them, but also like the way that they look when they're laughing, and the way that they are when they're like cozied up and relaxed, and the way that they look like intensely at us when we're in the middle of a conversation with them. And like those are the things we love. Never once have I wished that like a friend of mine were thinner or wore a smaller size. You know, never once have I obsessed about the things that we obsess about for ourselves. And even when you see a picture of yourself, or like specifically a video of yourself, it's a snapshot of something that is so different from how folks experience you, because we're like experiencing. That's what we're meant to do. And like a picture could never capture that.
Yeah. But then on the other side, the person that you're talking about probably feels like they don't look the way that they're supposed to look. Y'all, you look the way you're supposed to look. Today, talk to me about your version of body positivity.
Oh, yeah.
I love this from you. This has been so helpful to me.
Okay. So again, like we were talking about at the beginning of this episode, look at Alice having some body positivity right now.
She's got all her little kitty titties up in the air for everybody
all her
to
little
see.
leggies up in the air. Okay. Like we were talking about earlier, it's a big leap from hating your body to loving your body. And most of us will never experience loving our body every single day of the week if we ever get to the point of loving our body. There's a lot that you can do.
I
regardless.
do actually believe that if you claim that you love your body all of the time, I think that you're either A, delusional, or B, trying to sell me something. Like, I don't...
Selling me something.
Yeah, I don't identify with that at all. Like, this whole idea, I love the way that I look all the time. I have, like, cordially accepted, like, at the door, not letting them in, but at the door accepted that I like the way that I look, like, and then you need to go. Maybe once or twice in my entire life. But, okay, please continue.
Okay, so what I think is a great concept is something called body neutrality. It's not body positivity, which is like always having warm, happy feelings about yourself, and all these like happy-go-lucky people we see in all the body positivity pictures, and they're just embracing their body all of the time. Body neutrality is just like your body is your one vehicle in which to explore and experience this world. It is like the meat sack that gets you around. And it doesn't have to be more than that to you. It has to be cared for. It has to be taken care of. It has to be fed nutritious foods and moved sometimes and rested. But it's your one way around this planet. And like we're so sold the idea of just obsessing over what this thing looks like, when it is our one vehicle. It's like if my car just sat in the driveway and my whole thing was about just caring for it and tending to it and making sure that it looks perfect. Like, it's meant to drive. Your body is meant to go and to encounter other people and to encounter new experiences. And you don't have to get to the point of loving your body. You don't have to be body positive all the time. And there's a lot of like toxic positivity wrapped up in that. You can be neutral toward it. My body just exists. It just gets me from place to place. I have to take care of it so that it keeps getting me from place to place. And that's about as much as I have to think about my body. It doesn't have to be more than that.
What was helpful for me about that is that it eliminated a lot of the pressure that I felt that I should love the way that I look. Mm-hmm. And it opened up, okay, I can, like, it literally was like, oh, I can go to the gym. Like, because I don't have to love the way that I look, because I don't, and I don't think I ever really will. But I can go take care of it.
Yeah.
I can go do things with it that I enjoy. Yeah. And it's like, y'all, if you're able to, if that works for you the way it worked for me, if you're able to parse out this, like, I don't have to love it. I don't have to love my penis size. I don't have to love the way my butt looks in certain clothes. Like, it's not mandatory. I don't have to love it. Then the ability to, like, take better care of it actually starts cropping up, because you've got so much less pressure on the whole situation
Yeah, you're not waiting for all those feel-good feelings to happen. And the really beautiful way that our brains work is that when we invest our time in something, we start to care more about it. And so as you're like investing time in just allowing okay, I don't have to care about the way that my body looks. I don't have to obsess over like liking it or wait for liking it to happen. I'm allowed to go be out in public in the body that I'm in right now, and it's fun to pick up heavy shit, so I'm just gonna go do that. And as you start doing that, maybe you never switch to like loving the skin you're in, but you might switch to like, ah, my body can do some really cool shit. That's awesome.
Yeah. Oh, and my body's meant to be used and to be active. Like, I'm supposed to be doing things with it.
Yeah.
Something else that you say a lot is that you can't bully yourself into wellness. Mm-hmm. Shame might bring you into the gym, but it doesn't keep anybody in the gym.
No.
Shame is not the basis under which to make lifestyle changes. You have to actually want to go do the thing. If shame is the reason that you're in the gym, you won't, because you don't see results overnight.
Well, shame is the belief that you are bad and you deserve bad things. And so you can't thrive on that belief to get you to a good place. You can't go into the gym and say, I am bad and I deserve good things. You will not allow good things to happen to your body if you feel that way.
Shame keeps you on the couch.
Yeah.
Shame keeps you eating the foods that are contributing to the things you don't like about the way you look or the way that you feel. Shame is locking you into those things. Mm-hmm. The freedom from that is not more shame. Yeah. It's not shaming yourself into the gym. It's, hey, I'm actually in here. Mm-hmm. Hey, I'm in here. It doesn't matter what the magazine looks like or what these models look like. I'm in this meat suit for better or worse, and I'm gonna go see what it can do.
And your meat suit deserves to go be out at the beach and get sunshine, and your meat suit deserves to go like move around and go interact with other people.
Oh man, I think like 3 years ago I was mowing the yard and I had taken my shirt off because I wanted to like get some sun while I did it, and I just felt like everybody in the neighborhood was staring at me weird. And I came inside and I was like gonna put the shirt back on because I was just embarrassed. I hated the way that I looked, and you were like, hey, Price, sunshine isn't exclusive for like skinny people.
Yeah.
like you deserve. You're allowed to get sun too. And I was like, you know what? I am allowed to get sun. So I went back out there.
Yep.
And everybody got to stare at my pale white ass mow the yard.
It's gonna stay pale if you don't let sunshine get to it. But yeah, exactly. Like, sunshine is not reserved for people who love their bodies every single day. Like, you deserve to get out and experience those
That
things.
reminds me of something I heard growing up, was that like if you can't lose it, tan it. But the idea is that if you're tan, at least you look like you're thinner than you are. But what's interesting about that is you don't actually look thinner. What do you look like, Ash, when you're tan? You're overweight and tan. Active. You look like you're out there using your body, and that's appealing. That confidence that comes with being able to like get out there in a body you don't like and get some sunshine.
Yeah.
You don't look like you've lost, like you weigh less when you're tan. You look like you're actually using your body. And that's attractive.
Yeah. Yeah, I once again want to get away from like, if you're in a fat body, you're not less valuable than somebody in a skinny one. And like, that is not okay that we have set up this dichotomy that like bigger bodies are less deserving of love and affection. Can I say something fucked up
right now?
Okay.
You might be actually of more value if we were like taking you to a butcher shop for cannibals.
Well, there's that.
I stand by that.
Okay. But that your body has to fit into any sort of mold. Like the reason that like getting thin is a goal is because it's expensive to do.
Yeah.
A lot of people profit off of like slender bodies.
Yeah, there's money in it. Tinfoil hat time, for sure.
Yeah.
That brings up the other thing I wanted to mention is...
Oh,
are you having an allergy attack?
Yeah, I pet her and I touched my face. I'm regretting everything. Please continue.
That's like COVID. For the first time, I was like considering how many times I touch my face throughout the day. And it's a lot.
It's approximately like 8,000 times.
Yeah, it was basically if I touch something with my hands, the next thing I'm going to touch 9 times out of 10
is
my face.
Human. Just like touching touching our face, touching this, touching our, like, that's, yeah. Okay, sorry, continue. What separate thing were you talking about?
We went on a bachelorette kick, maybe 2 years ago, year ago.
COVID time.
We watched a lot of like garbage TV shows. Loved it. No hate here for it. But I've noticed that those, specifically the women on those shows, and the women that I see that are like very stylish, very, very hot, very attractive, y'all all starting to look exactly the same. Y'all getting the same nose jobs, you're getting the same boob jobs, you're getting the same spray tan, you're getting the same haircuts. You're all starting to look exactly the same to me, and it's scary because it was getting to a point like with the Bachelorette, like Bachelor year to year, I couldn't tell the difference between any of these people. And of course, you might be saying, well, Price, that's because all white people look the same, and there's not that many black people on The Bachelor, which is not my burden to bear. That's their burden to bear, but I'm just calling it out.
It's factually true.
It's factually true. All of these white women are starting to look exactly the same to me. And I think that it's interesting that we've decided kind of as a culture that there's this ideal body type, and we're all desperately chasing to look exactly the same.
And it's supposed to look, I mean, we're supposed to make it look easy, but it's supposed to look effortful. Like, that look is a very effortful look. It's not natural or intrinsic to like anybody. And if you spend all of your time and energy on maintaining this really effortful look, like, you won't do anything else. You won't be experiencing, you won't be driving your meat suit around town going to go do something. You've got hours racked up in front of the mirror trying to like make this thing happen. And I love people who like delight in makeup or delight in their skincare routine or taking care of their like hair. That's so human of us to end up delighting in the things that are like caring for ourselves. That's beautiful and great, and there's nothing wrong with that. But yeah, there's this very like homogenous sort of look that's like we all know what's the most valuable, and we're all trying to head that way.
This isn't just for the women. The men out there are getting the same treatment. You know, that's kind of one of the things I love about the queer community is y'all are like, none of this is fucking working, so I'm just gonna look beautiful in the skin that I'm in.
Yeah.
And I love that. That takes some like real self-pride, and it's something that I find very appealing.
I love how the queer community does self-expression and how there's this mixing of like masculine and feminine, and it can be like this very different look, and I think it's so beautiful and so freeing and so much more about like, what are you as an individual into?
Yeah. Because when you see all these guys starting to look exactly the same, they sound exactly the same. It's like copy paste across the board, and the same for the women. They're all trying to look appealing to one another, but none of them got asked what is appealing to them. They're all just chasing this like impossible thing that is being sold to them.
Yeah.
They're products. They are products for us to pay for, and it is just so exhausting. I'm so tired of it. And you must be thinking, Price, those are strong words for a guy who's clearly been missing his jawline since 2012. And if you're saying that, do you know where it is? Do you know where the jawline is? I have lost it and I can't find it. And I'll never look like I'm on The Bachelor because I don't have a jawline. So maybe I just have sour grapes. Maybe. Probably.
If you find our jawlines, please send it to this address.
Yeah, missing jaw found.
I just think it's funny the way that we delight in like our pets and like their very different body types and their roles.
Yeah, very different body types.
Yeah, and they're like things that would be considered a flaw or like the cutest, best, loveliest things about them. Like our dog has one ear that flops down and one ear that sticks up, and that is technically a flaw. I was going to say for her breed. She's not really a breed, she's a mutt. But that's not supposed to happen.
Yeah.
But it's the best part of her. It's everybody's immediate favorite thing. And when people see our cat Trouble, they immediately love how freaking chunky he is. And when people see Felice, she's just the tiniest little cat ever. And like, we love those differences about them. That's great. That makes up like the diversity. And I like love when we can delight in those things about us and about ourselves too, and that a homogenous group is like a very uninteresting one.
Well, it's a group that is willing to sacrifice self-acceptance for group acceptance.
Yeah,
and
that's a good way to put that.
Yeah, and I want to love myself better as I am, and I want you to love yourself better as you are, because at the end of the day, this episode has been about budgeting, and it is expensive. It's fucking expensive to do all of that to yourself. But not only that, it's so freeing to just contemplate yourself as existing in a meat suit the way that you would contemplate the way you drive around in your car.
Again, neutrality. It just exists. It just is the thing that it is, and now you can go about living your life. I had, we talked about a while ago, but we had the friend who dealt with an eating disorder, and then we spent years in between, you and I, working on our own body image and realizing that we had a lot of dysmorphia about the way that we looked at ourselves and didn't see what was actually in front of us.
A lot of dysmorphia in the way that I think everybody's kind of got a lot of dysmorphia. You know?
Yeah, just like we could really easily pick out our flaws and obsess over them. And then last year, I went through an issue where all of my hair was falling out, and that was a whole different experience about something that it felt one thing to like love my body, which honestly is like a petite, attractive a body that like people are generally into, I got off easy there. My body's very socially acceptable. But then like the hair loss thing as a woman was so much different and so much harder, and it was so out of control and so scary. And finally I was like obsessing over something that was a real like flaw. It was really this horrible thing that was happening, and that is what I came back to, was just like the neutrality. Like it just is. And whether I have hair or not, like I deserve to go out and get some sunshine. Whether I like have hair or not, I have to go run my errands and go to the store, and I can make new friends, and I can do all this stuff. And that was like, I think it's such a powerful message, because you can rely on it in all areas. I don't have to love it. I don't have to be excited about it or into it or find it particularly attractive myself to like, I deserve to go out into the world and exist. I deserve to be here.
Yeah. Just contemplate where the messaging's coming from. We in preparation for this episode, we did a lot of research. The number of like teenage women having surgery on their
young teenage women having surgery on their vulvas.
Yeah, for appearance purposes only.
And again, completely informed by porn, and a lot of actresses in porn have had surgery, and the video is edited, is changed to change their appearance.
Yeah. And then men doing the same things to their genitals, and then everything else in between. Like boob jobs are like completely acceptable and normal. And, I don't want to sit here like I'm on some sort of high horse, like you can get this and you can't get that. It's your body. Do what you want. But before you start going to an ultimate solution, like a surgical solution, contemplate contemplate where your body exists on a normal spectrum. Because like the study that you cited in that paper you did in college, 100% of the men who were in line to get their penises enlarged through surgery, upon being told what the average penis size was, pulled out. You see what I did there? They pulled out of the surgery because they no longer felt like it was necessary for their personal happiness or confidence when they had an accurate understanding of what everybody else was working with.
Yeah.
Your body is okay. Your body's fine. You deserve to exercise and move your body and get all of the benefits with that. It is a privilege. There are people in wheelchairs all around the world who wish that they could get up and go for a run. Like I have the privilege to do.
So many people in like chronic pain. I have so many clients. It's a big part of the autism community, dealing with like chronic pain and other bits of neurodivergent, there are so many people who aren't able to do those things, and like it's a gift that your body moves. Like move it around. It can be silly. It doesn't have to be like beautiful or coordinated.
And you don't have to go to a gym. You could pick up a sport. You could go on a hike. You could go on a walk. Like it doesn't have to be a specific thing. It's just a joy to get to do that. It's a privilege.
Do an activity where passively you're exercising. I heard some great advice about exercising, which was like go get into bird watching, or get into like geocaching, or get into...
Maybe not bird watching. That's pretty... I try to keep an open mind, but you lose the ADHD brain at bird watching.
Okay, this is very autism friendly, so get out of here. Bird watching, geocaching, just like adding in bicycling on your way somewhere. Like, just do it as like the byproduct of whatever other enjoyable thing you're doing. Bird watching. Bird watching.
And then you also get to you should enjoy the privilege of nourishing yourself well and wisely. There are so many people who don't have access to food, and there's so many people, especially in America, that don't have access to nutritious food. And so if you do have access to nutritious food, like, take advantage of that. Your body's craving to be nourished appropriately.
Yeah.
So do that and take care of yourself. You don't have to be in love with your body to deserve those things.
Yep.
You don't have to be a gym rat to enjoy getting exercise, and you don't have to be a nutritionist to enjoy eating a healthy meal. You can just feel neutral about these things, but the way that you would if you care well for your car, and you clean it and you take care of it and you get it serviced when it needs to be serviced, that you should care about your body in a similar way.
Yeah. I think something that's interesting about body dysmorphia, I got it confused
Jesus.
now. When we were learning about it in school and as I was studying like the DSM-5, it shows up in kind of predictable ways. That there are people, like, for every body part, there's somebody who's obsessed with finding a flaw in it. Mm-hmm. But a lot of the times, they're the things that, like, we as a society deem inappropriate. It's like women being concerned with how thick their hair is, or people being concerned about their noses when, like, nose jobs are so common, or people being concerned about, like, their weight and their stomach, or people being concerned about having, like, whatever. It's predictable. It falls into these patterns of, like, this message that keeps getting shoved in our faces all of the time of, like, again, fitting into kind of this homogenous group.
And I'm realizing this now, but a lot of our obsessions are over things that can be impacted surgically. Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting? Mm-hmm. Isn't that interesting? Oh, you want bigger boobs? Well, I can do that for you. And so maybe you want the bigger boobs because it was an option in the first place. Maybe it's an option. Maybe it's all cyclical. I'm in your head now. I can do it. You can pay me to do the thing, and now you want the thing done because it can be done.
Yeah. Another weird thing for healing a relationship with your body, with your specific, like, weirdisms in your body, something that was really helpful to me is as I was going back and studying my, like, family tree and seeing pictures of my ancestors just a couple generations back and noticing my shared features. Sometimes we've got, trauma with our immediate family, and maybe you didn't want to look like those people. Maybe it was scary to grow up to look like mom or dad or whatever. And there are certainly people who avoid those things, but, like, getting to see this whole line of people with, like, oh, they're my teeth. Wow, that's my same smile. That's amazing. There's something really delightful about that. And again, as humans, we're wired for connection. We're meant to see ourselves in each other. And if there are parts of yourself that you don't like, that was kind of a weird way that I encountered some help with my neutral feelings toward my body.
That's interesting. Do you have any other thoughts for us before we wrap up for today?
Talk to your friends about your penis size. For real, though.
Call the homies.
Get out some measuring tape. No,
one thing leads to another. A glass of wine.
If you start talking about the things that you feel uncomfortable with, I think it's something that maybe women do more often, that we talk together about the things we're uncomfortable with our bodies, but we also, like, sometimes egg each other on in terms of, like, fixing those things. But you're, like, lovely, with the lovely, accepting, encouraging people in your life, be open about the things that bother you, because my guess is that you're not alone in those things.
I'll tell you right now, if I had a conversation with any of my close friends where I expressed a insecurity around my penis size and I was met with anything genuine, that would be fucking bizarre. And I don't even mean that as a joke. Even amongst my good friends who have been to therapy and are, like, really positive minded for the most part, that would be fucking bizarre. And I think a lot of guys would say that. That would be
bizarre.
bizarre.
I totally agree.
It's like...
I know that would be unusual.
Yeah.
Well, then talk to your therapist about it.
Talk to your partner about it.
Talk to your partner about it. That's a big deal. That was why...
Email at imarriedyourtherapist@gmail.com. Measuring tape, dick pic.
Oh my God, we don't want you to send your dick pics.
Speak for yourself.
Don't ask for that on the air.
Speak for yourself, Ash.
Okay, maybe don't ask your friends about your penis size. The reason that like talking about penis size with somebody comes up, why I think that this was like a worthwhile topic when we have a mostly cis female audience.
Hey, ladies.
Hi. is I don't think about that at all as a woman.
Yeah.
Like, sure, people talk about penis size. Sure, that comes up. It's mostly a cultural joke, so that doesn't help anybody.
Sure.
But I'm often unaware of the ways that I think men are insecure about their bodies. And I'm really glad that on this podcast we get to talk a lot about that, because I think a lot of men suffer in silence. And a lot of us women, as much as we can be like in tune with our partners and in tune with what's going on around us and trying to listen well and doing all of those things, I don't think a lot of people are speaking on this.
Yeah.
And I think it's important. I think men struggle with a lot of these things up to, the point of dysmorphia and don't get a chance to talk about it.
No, for men, it's height and penis size. As the big things that we can't really do anything about. Right? Now, we also all want to be jacked or whatever, and that's got its own set of problems, but like height and penis size, we're hit all the time with that. Well, I think that I'm going to wrap up with a statement that perfectly encapsulates the problem of what we're talking about.
Okay.
You haven't mentioned me talk about my dick because it's 9 inches long. And I got no problems with it. I've never felt insecure about my penis. Don't at me in the comments. Everything's fine. I'm glad we got to talk about it.
Okay, great. I'm glad we got that out of the way.
Yeah. Although, in all seriousness, I did have a note here that said Ashlyn's penis is the size of a Coke can, based on a conversation we had yesterday where we were contemplating if you had a penis, it would be short and girthy, like the size of a Coke can.
Yeah.
Could you even imagine? What would you do with something like that?
I really don't want one.
Don't look at me like that.
Okay, so in school we learn about like Freud or whatever, and we were talking about penis envy that he supposed that women had, that as soon as they realize that men have penises, they feel envious of them. My feeling as soon as I realized men had penises is, oh, that sucks. Oh, that seems really inconvenient.
It reminds me of what Betty White said. She said, everybody talks about, men are tough as balls, but what they should say is they're tough as vaginas, because those things can take a pounding.
That's right.
All right, well, on that note.
Thanks
so much for your time, Ash.
Thank you for your time, Price.
And we will see you next time, if you choose to come back.
If you come back.
On I Married Your Therapist. Man, I really, really hope that there are people who listen to this because their therapist sent them here.
This specific episode for that.
Yeah.
I think they're in for a time.
Yeah, no, if anybody's still listening, we're not putting any effort at all into marketing this thing. We're only growing from word of mouth.
Oh, yeah, and the fact that you guys are sharing means the world to us. Thank you for doing that.
Yes.
Sorry this is the episode this week.
We appreciate you guys.
See you next time.